Good morning, everybody. I don't really need to say much more about me, other than I have two passions in life. The first one is customer loyalty, and I work with all kinds of different companies and nonprofits, big and small, and how to identify, retain, and grow their best customers. I do have a question for you guys. So Diane asked earlier, who had a good time last night? Did anybody have a really good time last night? Like maybe too good? Okay, so for you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to say the most important thing I have to say today. And so if you're thinking, Barry, I don't know if I've got the gas in the tank to sit through this talk, this is the time to pay attention. The most important thing is, you already know how to build customer loyalty because you are a customer. You are somebody else's client, somebody else's customer. And so you know the experiences that build your loyalty. And frankly, it doesn't have to be businesses. If you can think of organizations, institutions, ideas, people, that you say, when I think about that person, that idea, that institution, that business, that makes me loyal, then you already have all the insight and examples you need to figure out how to transfer that to your business. So Diane gave us a great example of a bad example of that. We heard this amazing example about Disney and the president, right? So I would say start collecting those stories for yourself. What are the experiences that you have that make you smile, that make you remember a business? And that's your starting point. So I said I have two passions in life. One of my passions is customer loyalty. My second passion, which I want to use to share a little story with you right now, is tiki bars. I love tiki bars. Anybody here from Los Angeles? I stumbled like 15 years ago with some friends into the tiniest little tiki bar in Los Angeles called Tiki Tea. You guys been to it? Yeah, it's an institution. It's about as big as this stage. And it's been in Los Angeles since the 1930s. And it's this dingy, dark little tiki bar with these crazy, amazing drinks and stuff everywhere to look at. And I never wanted to leave that tiki bar. They had to drag me out that night. I didn't even know tiki bars were a thing. But like in the last 5 years, there's been an explosion of tiki bars. They're all over the country. They've gotten really popular, but they've been around since the 30s. I think there's like 3 in Denver now. I didn't get any time on this trip to hit those tiki bars, but I will next time. So I love to share my love of tiki bars with people that I travel with, including my family. And so I want to give you a little story about a tiki bar that I went to some time ago called the Grass Skirt Tiki Lounge in San Diego. And so I told my family we're going to try out this tiki bar. I've never been there before, but of course you know how much I love them, so let's go. We pull up in front of the building so we can see it. There's a sign that says the Grass Skirt. We know we have arrived at the right place. We can hear the tiki music playing. Tiki has its own genre of music. It's called exotica. And we can hear it coming from the building. We're excited. They're excited to go in. There's just one little problem. We cannot find the front door. There is no obvious door. There is now one of those doors with no handle that you can tell you're only supposed to use it from the inside, but that's clearly not the front door. So we're like scratching our head. And so we actually are so intent to get in here, we start to kind of circle the building, trying to figure out where the front door is to the tiki bar. We can't find it. I'm not kidding. It's not like we just didn't look close enough. There is no door. So my family is ready to give up. But I'm like, we're getting into this freaking tiki bar one way or another. And about that time, I did notice, we kind of just ignored it, but we did notice that connected to the tiki bar was this little takeout Chinese restaurant. Different business completely. So we go over there thinking, we'll just ask them where the door to the tiki bar is. And so we wander in, and there's a guy on the counter doing whatever he's doing. And we cannot find the door in. And he looked up like he had heard that question 1,000 times. And without saying anything, he just goes like this over his shoulder. And over his shoulder is the kitchen of the Chinese restaurant. So we kind of wandered around back there, sort of like, what are we doing? Is this going to have anything to do with the tiki bar next door? And so one of us kind of paid attention to the fact that there is one other door in the kitchen of the Chinese takeout that is a walk-in cooler door. And so we pop that door open, and amazingly, there is not a walk-in cooler on the other side, but there's this long, dark, windy, literally windy passage. I don't know how they did that part, that led somewhere else. And so we know, well, this must be it. And so we take our little journey down this long, dark hallway, and on the other side, what do we see? It's this amazing, glorious tiki bar. But we had to find the door. And so when I tell people that story, I'm like talking just about like the rest of the time at the tiki bar was great. It was great. The drinks were great. The decor was great. The service was great. But the part of the story I always tell is how we had to find our way into the experience. And every time I tell this story, somebody says, what if you hadn't found the way in? That's a crazy way to do business. What if people leave because they can't find the door? And you know what I always tell people when they ask that question? I said, the people who don't work hard enough to find the door to that tiki bar didn't belong there in the first place. They were trying to curate a very specific kind of experience, and they wanted that experience to be something that after people had it, they would never stop talking about it. It would be something that would resonate with them and stay with them. So I collect those kinds of experiences, so when I'm doing work in other areas, I'm like, well, what's the version of the secret door that is only available to some of your customers? That's when we start thinking about loyalty and what loyalty does for our business. So let's talk about loyalty a little bit. I'm going to give you a definition to start with today. This is not a great definition, you guys. So don't take a picture of the slide, don't write it down. But this is what a lot of us use, and that's why I wanted to share it with you, all right? So when customers deliver more of what makes us financially successful, that's oftentimes how we think about loyalty. My loyal customers are the ones that more reliably keep buying or letting me do business with them. Now, there is a reason for that. If you want a justification for why I'm not thinking about loyalty today, what's the justification, rationale? There's a really strong rationale for it. In most businesses, and I'm sure this is true for many, many people here, 20 to 30% of your clients are probably driving 80% of your revenue. So you just think of your portfolio of clients. How many of them can you reasonably rely on will have multiple million-dollar transactions with you? I know it's not 100%. Maybe for some of you, if you're lucky, it's 20%, 10, even 5 would be great. But you know that you have a small group of customers that you can count on to return and do more business with you. And what that ends up looking like is those customers tend to end up being way more valuable than other kinds of customers. Mostly because of the repeat behavior, but also because they're just more receptive to you doing what you do for them. So it's less expensive to hang on to them than to go find new customers. And increasing the retention just a little bit, because these are people who trust you, can actually have a significant exponential outcome on your financial return. And yet, most businesses, and maybe some of your businesses, spend way more time looking for new customers than they do focused on how to retain and grow their existing customer base. That's why people like me do consulting work and have a job to talk to people about that. Okay, I do want to get a few other definitions out of the way up front, just so we have clarity of what we're talking about. So Jeff talked to us about customer experience. Okay, and I want to define that a little bit for us, just for the sake of the loyalty discussion. When I talk to people about customer experience, I say that's what you do for everybody. Your customer experience is what you do for anybody who walks in the door looking for your help. Right? And to his point, it's where you're building trust around the consistency and the quality of your business. But there's a second experience that you really do need to have in today's market, and that is a loyalty experience. It's not the same as your customer experience. You do that for everybody. But your loyalty experience is what you do for your best customers, and even more importantly, you guys, your high potentials. Who are the customers that look like they should be best, they're not there yet, and you want to encourage them and nurture them in that direction. And part of what you're doing with loyalty experience is you're trying to build a relationship that has something called future mindset. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, future mindset. The last thing, and really not what I want to talk about today, but it often gets confused in this discussion, is this third piece, which is a loyalty program. How many people in here are in a loyalty program? A points program at a retailer, an airline, a hotel. Yeah, we're all business travelers, so the average US family is in about 15 to 20 programs, active in maybe half of us, right? So loyalty programs are these very structured experiences that you give a name to, and you launch them into the marketplace, and then people engage in it so you can get their repeat behavior. I doubt, after spending a day with you yesterday and listening to the discussion about the industry you're in, I doubt that many of you, or any of you maybe, need a loyalty program. I am completely convinced that everybody in this room needs a loyalty experience. And so what I want to take a little bit of time today doing is helping you think about how to build that out and kind of work through that as an approach. Because these are the potential outcomes that you can gain from having a really effective loyalty experience. Look at these lists, see if any of these things sound like things you'd like to have for your own business. Grow client engagement. Improve the lifetime value of a client. Drive more referrals, which Dave's going to talk more about here in just a little bit this morning. But other things that may not be so obvious, like inform client segmentation. I'm not going to call anybody out here today, but I wonder if I ask for a show of hands, how many basically have a one-size-fits-all approach to your client experience today? A lot of companies, a lot of huge companies, treat all customers the same. But a loyalty experience is I at least want to divide up between the 80% and the 20% and think of them differently around that. And the other thing, sometimes a loyalty experience can do is it starts to give you data to let you predict customer behavior better. That's always a great thing to do. But this is, I'm going to share now, the most important thing that a loyalty experience does. It creates future intention. And before when I said that, I didn't like that definition that says it's just about people buying more, making you more financially successful. I mean, there's so many ways you can do that. But what loyalty does is it puts the mindset in the head of your client that the next time I need the kind of thing that you do, I'm coming to you for that. The next time I need help with a purchase, with selling a house or buying a house, I don't start thinking, who could possibly help me? They already know today that you were the person they're coming for. So most of us flew to get here today. I flew on Southwest. I'm a big fan of Southwest. They were a client of mine at one point. And I think about Southwest. What is their customer experience? So if you get on a Southwest plane, the customer experience is plane leaves on time, the seatbelt works, they give you the right drink, and the flight lands on time. That's the customer experience. Okay, but they have a loyalty experience too. What's their loyalty experience? Drink coupons. Which, anybody get drink coupons from Southwest? What's the rule for when you get those drink coupons? What's the rule? Anybody know? Right after you get home? Yeah, like your last flight? I'll give you a little secret that I don't know Southwest cares what I share this. It's different for everybody. You get your drink coupons at a different time than somebody else does it for different reasons because they segment all of us. They're drink coupons. They don't charge you for them, they just give them to you. They have a loyalty program. They have a companion. Everybody here have the companion pass in Southwest? That means your special someone flies free with you, right? When you fly. Boarding early, that's part of their loyalty experience. And so by doing those things, whenever I land on a flight from Southwest, one of the things I'm thinking about, I wonder how many points I got to move me closer to companion pass, to move me closer to my next free flight. Or I'm going to hang on my A+ preferred so I get the board first, okay? I wonder which airline I'm going to fly next time I have a business trip. I know it's Southwest. I can already see my next trip in my head. That's what you're trying to do with the loyalty experience. You're trying to put future intention in the mind of your customer so it's not even a question of what they're going to do next. But despite all that, and knowing that those things are true and have been proven over and over and over again in the market, most businesses are really bad at doing this. Most businesses set out to have an engagement curve that looks like this. They create some awareness, you get some consideration, then you get that client to come in the door, you start working with them, you build a relationship, you close the deal, they're happy, you're happy, now they're your referral partner and they want to come back again, right? We all want that curve. But let me show you the curve that most of us get most of the time. It looks more like that. In my practice, we call this the engagement cliff because in many, many cases, the level of engagement drops off so fast, you lose it before you even realize it went away. That's the client who came in the door, you had some meetings with, you thought they were going to work with you, and then they ghosted you. Does anybody have that? Does that happen in your industry? Yeah, that's it. Okay? Here's the crazy thing, when I work with businesses, it's like, I don't know why we didn't anticipate that. This is most human behavior. Think of the last time that you gave yourself a New Year's resolution. Did it look like the top curve or the bottom curve? The last time you set out to do a new exercise regimen, did it look like the top curve or the bottom curve? And I would dare say for most of us, the majority of our dating experiences in life look like that bottom curve. Maybe some of our marriage experiences. Right? Our brains are wired to say if the thing is not giving me value, or if it didn't hook me in, then I move on. That's the way people work. And yet in business, we're always surprised when it happens. So part of building a loyalty experience for your business is creating the insurance policy that keeps your clients on the top curve and doesn't give them a chance to go to the bottom curve. Okay, so I want to talk just for a few minutes about where we are right now in terms of loyalty in the marketplace. How do customers think about loyalty? But I do want to say, before that, I want to reiterate something Bruce said yesterday. It was repeated a couple of other times, and I just think is critical. The thing that we get wrong over and over and over again about sales when it comes to customers is we have this odd belief that customers are purely rational, that they are making purely rational decisions. Mostly because we try to create rational marketplaces. So we assume because the marketplace seems rational, the customer's rational. I know you guys know, though, in your own interpersonal dealings with clients, that they are not rational beings, right? Because humans generally are not. And the reason I know that clients aren't purely rational is because in a purely rational world, why would we be loyal to any business? We would be constantly looking for who's going to give me a better deal. We would never just settle with somebody and say, you've proven yourself, I stay with you. Now, the one thing I will add to this, though, because I think the one reason we resist this notion is nobody wants to be irrational. Right? Does anybody want the label irrational? So I actually use this language instead. I think it works a little better. It is just that people are more than rational. As Bruce said yesterday, we make decisions 99% of the time emotionally. Like the brain actually processes all decisions emotionally first, and then secondarily it goes to the rational part. That's why we call it rationalizing. We are rationalizing the emotional decision. So loyalty is not a rational decision, which means we've got to unpack it a little bit to see where that goes. All right, so two things that I do in my practice to try to break up loyalty is to say, basically, let's not make it a yes or no consideration. Are you loyal or you're not loyal? Or loyalty is on-off, it's binary, okay? It is more complex than that. So one of the things I look at is depth of loyalty. So how resilient is the loyalty that client has given to you? And the second one we'll talk about is type of loyalty, like what is actually driving that loyalty? So we do at my consultancy a study a couple times a year to get a feel on how customers are thinking. We did one just a few months ago, and I want to show you the results from that on depth of loyalty. In the study, we basically asked customers, thinking about businesses that you're loyal to, how resilient is that loyalty? 19% said, I have no loyalty to anybody in the marketplace. We call this the non-loyal. They say, brand doesn't matter to me, business doesn't matter to me, I'm always scanning for the next thing. I sometimes affectionately refer to this group as the sociopaths. They have nothing's binding them or connecting them. Okay? You may have a few of those that you can remember in your plans. Okay, second group, the biggest group, is the moderate loyalists, 61%. They said, I'm loyal, I have brands I love, I have businesses that I feel connected to, but I'm always looking around a little bit. I actually wanted to call this group the promiscuously loyal, but my team would not like it. But I think that's really what we're talking about, promiscuously loyal. And then you have this third group, which we call the super loyalists, and they're like, when I lock in on a business, I'm locked in for good. In fact, I stop looking around. Anyway, let's see, how many super loyalists in the room today? Okay? How many moderate loyalists in the room today? Yeah, we're going to have more moderate loyalists. Anybody non-brand loyal? I've actually found you guys, I will tell you one thing. When I work with clients, and a lot of times I'll have a non-loyalist. You just have to keep digging. Eventually you'll find the thing that they're loyal to. Because it's really hard to be a human and not be loyal to certain things. Well, what this data says to me is we've got to face the facts that 60% or so of all loyalty in the marketplace is constantly in play across everything we do. The downside of that is that's existing in your client base today. You have a lot of really moderately loyal clients. The upside is so do your competitors. So if you have the right loyalty experience built out, there's huge opportunity for you to interact in the market and grow your business. And ideally what we want to do is convert your moderate loyalists to super loyalists. We'll talk a little bit about how to do that. Okay, the second factor that we look at is this thing that we call type of loyalty. So depth, how resilient is my loyalty? The second thing is, why are they loyal to you? And it's never one thing. And it's never the same thing for everybody. So I'm going to share a little model that I've developed in my work. I can say this, even though I sometimes say like I designed this model. More in reality, it revealed itself to me over about the first decade of my work in doing loyalty. It was just staring me in the face constantly that people have different reasons for being loyal. So if you think about it this way, if you think about having these two continuums you can play with your business. And the first is transactional to relational. That's how you do business. So put yourself, it's kind of hard, there's a line there. It's kind of hard to see it on the slide, but there's a line right across there. When you interact with your clients, are you closer to the transactional end of that line or the relational end? So think about that. Right? It's going to be different for all of us. It's going to be different on a given day, different with different clients. Okay? Second thing, the other continuum is passive to active. This is what your clients are doing when they interact with you. So are your clients mostly passive? They just sort of interact, get the information you need, do the bare minimum, and move on. Or are they more active? Are they engaging with you more fully? Are they being a referral partner? If you send them an email, do they open it? If you send them a survey, do they fill it out? Right? And clients are all over the place on that too. So what happens if we have these two continuums that cross? What it reveals to us, there's actually 4 different types of loyalty that we can be building. The first I call inertial loyalty. So inertial loyalty, that's passive and transactional. These are businesses. I want you to think about businesses that you're engaged in that might fit this category. These are businesses that we say, it looks like I'm loyal because I keep transacting, but I'm really not loyal. I'm only here because it's too much trouble to go somewhere else, or they've made it too hard for me to go somewhere else. Can you guys think of a business, you can just shout out, a business or an industry you feel like you engage with, you're like, yeah, that's what that says. What's that? Cable companies.
Excel Energy.
Car repair service, right? Just know it. Plumbers. Yeah. So there are lots of businesses that actually allow that. There are whole industries that have built their business around inertial loyalty. This can be really, really effective. Here's the problem with it. Once somebody comes in and removes the inertia, it makes it easy for you to switch. How quickly do you switch? Like that. Yeah. So it's an okay tactic, it's a terrible strategy. So hopefully nobody's using this today. But you might be using this other one, which is at this active but still transactional side, which is mercenary loyalty. It's exactly what it sounds like, you guys. It's I'm paying my clients to be loyal to me. Now, in some businesses, that's literally paying them some kind of cash back. Other businesses, it's a points program. And it can also be I'm just agreeing to reduce my fees so that you let me take this transaction. Okay? This can be very, very effective, and I'm going to show you in a minute why this is also not the best place to be. It is where most loyalty has been in all industries for the last couple decades, but it is having declining effectiveness. The paying customers to be loyal is declining in effectiveness. And why would we want to do it if we don't have to do that? So let's stay in that box. Okay, so now we're getting to the 2 that I want you to think more about. So the next type of loyalty we want to look at is experiential loyalty. You just heard Jeff talk about experience a lot, so don't be surprised that that's on the list. Experiential loyalty is where the interaction with your business is what's actually driving it. And the way you know if you're in this box is oftentimes you're actually the premium priced provider if you're in that category. Because the client's not looking for a discount and they don't feel stuck. They say the experience that you're providing to me is superior. So what brands can you think of that fit that box? If you're thinking to yourself, I do pay too much, but I don't care. Nordstrom. Louis Vuitton. Bloomingdale's. Bally's. Okay, you can think of all day long, right? Whole Foods. Apple. Now for me, it's Starbucks. My venti latte at Starbucks costs like $7. It's insane. Right? I don't care. I like Starbucks. I like the experience of going to Starbucks every day, and so I spend. Okay? Very resilient, and the reason this is resilient is not just because of the quality of experience you can build. It's very difficult for a competitor to copy your experience because they're not a client. They don't understand all of it. It's much easier for them to copy your reduction fees. They can copy them. And the final one, which is the one everybody wants, but it's really hard to get to, is cold loyalty. This is the active relational. This kind of has two components, is where your clients feel some sort of a values or identity alignment to you. They feel like they look at you and they see themselves reflected back. And they seek out other people who have made that same choice, right? So I'm connected more at this more deep level, like, that's me. That reflects who I am in the world. Okay, what brands can we think of that fit there? Apple. Harley. Literally, people get together and ride together. It's part of their identity, right? Patagonia, for sure. Porsche. iPhone users. Yes, with our little green and blue bubbles. Yeah. Oh, Columbia. Yeah, for sure. It's usually, yeah. Tesla. Yeah? Rolex. Okay, so you guys get it, right? That's a great space to be in, and when we were hearing yesterday afternoon about building your community, this is where that starts to fit in. It is the most resilient kind of loyalty. Because once I have adopted a community, as humans, we're loath to walk away from a community we have committed to. So if you can build that piece in, it's really important. The last thing I want to note is Apple's been mentioned a couple times. Actually, I want to note Apple fits in 3 of these categories, not 1. Apple definitely fits in cult loyalty. That's the fanboys and fangirls who love everything Apple. They definitely fit into experiential loyalty, because they create amazing products that people spend too much money on. They definitely don't fit in mercenary loyalty, because their products are overpriced. But they do fit in inertial loyalty. Because once you've adopted several Apple products, it's really hard to figure out how to get off of this. Right? They've made it really sticky. I mean, I have a whole bunch of Apple products, and every once in a while I see an Android phone, and I'm like, those are pretty cool. I have no idea how I would ever swap out my iPhone for an Android. Does anybody here know, is that possible? I'm not getting 2 phones. Good suggestion. Okay, so one thing I would encourage you guys, if you find this model intriguing, what I would suggest that you do is take the model when you go back home and say, where am I activating all 4 types of loyalty? Where am I doing that today? If you activate all 4 types, you're winning. And you may have one category you're stronger in, one you're weaker, you may have one you're missing completely. That's the thing you can do tomorrow, is play around with that and see what you're missing from the equation. Okay, in that study we ran a couple months ago, this is what consumers told us about whether loyalty is today. Okay, are you guys getting the theme from yesterday to today? Consumers are telling us this. This isn't just that we all think this is a great idea. Customers are saying, and by the way, I know probably not doing a lot of B2B work, but B2B customers say this too. The experience is what is driving my loyalty to a company, to a business, to a practitioner. Only secondarily is it the financial situation that they present. I want to dig one layer deeper though, because I want to be really specific with you today. What is driving that? Who is driving that? We cut the data, and what we found was it didn't really matter. There weren't any differences if we cut it by gender, by age, by household income. Here's where it changed. The one data point we put against this where it changed was depth of loyalty. So look at the non-loyal people and see where their focus is. It's the mercenary part. It's the deal you give them. It's the discount you provide. But look at the loyalists. They do suck. Look at the loyalists. Where's their focus? The experience. So if you're appealing to clients on the basis of cutting your fee or a discount, yes, but kind of clients you're attracting? The non-loyal. If your focus is on creating a better experience as a way to connect with clients, you are attracting people who have a predilection towards being your loyal customer. So that's why we think that experience part is so important. It's not just important to customer experience, it's important to loyalty. Okay. I want to rethink client loyalty a little bit then. I want to share a couple ideas, and then Diane asked me to put you to work today.
Let's do it.
Okay? Because I think she did a fantastic job of bringing smart, informed people up on the stage to share wisdom and knowledge. But frankly, all the street knowledge is sitting out at these tables. So I'm going to present some ideas here, and then we're going to play with them together and see where we can take this. But the first thing I want to do, I want to switch up our loyalty definition. Remember the one I told you don't take a picture of? This one you can take a picture. So loyalty, a self-sustaining relationship, meaning it starts to move itself forward without you having to prompt it all the time. Between brand and customer, brand and client, based on mutual benefit. Everybody wins, you create a great experience, and there's some shared identity or shared values. Okay? But boy, that's a lot harder than like just getting people to make you financially successful. Okay, and we can unpack all that, but I think that's a much stronger definition to think about. We also need to think about how we get that wrong a lot. So I mentioned earlier, I like to collect really great customer experiences. I also like to collect really bad ones. Okay? So I want to share one that I encounter every time I travel for business. Is an airport bathroom. So I may be the only person in the room, but when I go to the airport bathroom and I go up to the sink, wash my hands, I start doing this. And no freaking water comes in. Yeah. It's horrible. So then what do? Like I'm a person who can think through a problem and come up with a solution. I go, and then some other gentleman walks up and puts his hands in her, and the water comes in. And then I'm here doing this again. You guys, it happened in the bathroom down the hall yesterday. And there was a whole bunch of other guys in the bathroom. I'm like, I'm only going to be here like another 2 seconds before I get paid enough for this entire time. That is a horrible customer experience. Because there's so many different ways that they came up with doing that. And we have to always figure out, well, how does it work in this bathroom versus that bathroom? That is a fail. It is not my fail. That's the fail of whoever designed that experience. We have to own the fail in the experience. It's never the client's fault, even if we want to make it their fault. And I think the other thing I kind of get out of this is, when I have that happen, you know how I feel? I don't feel dumb. I feel invisible. I literally feel invisible. Like everybody else is making this work, I can't. And that's what we want to avoid. We do not want our clients to feel invisible. And I want you to think about that for a second. Because you're probably thinking, my clients don't feel invisible, but are there parts of the process as they work through with you where they feel a little abandoned? And maybe it's not you. I mean, Jeff was talking about all the other people that affect that. They don't even have to be people that you employ. Right? What about the people at the title company? What about the mortgage officer? Right? There are other places they can feel invisible, and if you can make them feel seen through that whole process, that's where you win. You win their trust, you win their repeat business, you win their referrals. Okay? So I'm going to give you some ideas to work with now to make your customers feel seen, to feel special, to create memory, to create loyalty. Okay? Are you guys ready to dig in just a little bit? You're done listening to me. You're ready to do some stuff. Okay. On your table, there is a little stack of cards that look like this. Everybody should get one. It's just a little thing for you to jot ideas down on, so you'll remember where you got these ideas when you go back.
Sorry.
Now, as we work through this, I'm going to suggest some things, and somebody's going to think at the table, I'm already doing that. I'm already a master at that thing Barry is saying I should do. Great. You should mentor people at your table. Share the experience that you're already doing great so that they can learn from it. Or if you're at your table thinking, I never have thought about that. I don't have that experience, then it's your brainstorming that you need to contribute to the table. Okay? All right, ready? Here's the first one. Let's talk about friction for a second. Friction. A lot of experiences have parts that are built into it, intentionally and unintentionally, that piss clients off. They make it hard for them to stick with whatever it is that actually can cause them to abandon it before they've completed whatever you wanted to do. I call that friction. What did you build in, intentionally, unintentionally, that just makes it like wearying for them to move forward with the process? That you might even say, man, every time I do hit that part, that's where I have something, nudge them forward. In that. So one of the things you can do is start by reducing friction for your best clients. Let me give you an example in the marketplace of somebody who succeeded in a crazy way with doing just that. Anybody take a yellow cab from the airport? A couple of people. Anybody take Uber or Lyft from the airport? Okay. So Uber and Lyft, and particularly Uber, because I think they were really the first big brand out there. Uber did not invent some insane new way to get people from here to there. They're basically doing the same thing that a cab does. But what they did do was remove all the friction of riding in a cab. And what was that friction? How do I call a cab or get a cab? Is that my cab? Where is that cab that I called? How do I pay? Oh wait, we got to the other end and they said I could pay with a credit card, but now magically the credit card machine is not working and they want cash, right? What if I had to alert somebody this ride's not going well? They took all of the friction out and almost overnight started to kill yellow cab companies because the experience, not by making necessarily an entirely new evolution of the experience, just by removing the friction. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to take maybe 7 minutes at your table to talk about where is the friction in the buyer experience today for your client that you might be able to remove. But one more thing I want to say. You don't need to remove it for everybody. Remember, this is loyalty experience. This is about for your best customers or your high potentials, where you can say to them, for you, I'm removing some friction. I don't do this for everybody. I do it for you. Okay? So talk about what is the friction in your experience today, and then what might it look like if you pulled some out. And then talk amongst yourselves in about 5 minutes. I'll have you guys throw out some thoughts.